Today on All Things 80s, unboxing the Corgi Spider-Man Spiderbike. Welcome back to All Things 80s. Now, today's video we're going to be unboxing something that I loved as a child. This is the Corgi Spider-Man Spiderbike. So I had this one. I also had the Spider Buggy, which was a pretty unusual toy. It was basically an open-top Jeep with a crane on the back, and from that crane was a web which could capture the Green Goblin. However, the actual web itself was just a plastic bag with the web printed on it. Pretty basic, but for the time it was a lot of fun. They also made a Spider Van, which was kind of a generic van with a Spider-Man logo, and the rather unusual large-scale Spider Copter, which actually had a flicking tongue on the end of it, which was, I don't know, questionable. They also had the Corgi Juniors range. I had a couple of those. They had the Spider Copter, Spider Van, and there was also a miniature version of this. But this is the one that I managed to get hold of. And whilst it is new, the seller did admit that they had to open it because Spider-Man was attached to the bike by means of a rubber band, and over the decades that rubber had began to disintegrate and was causing a bit of a mess. So that was removed. But other than that, this is exactly how it would have been back in the day. Now, interestingly enough, this one has a price sticker from Oddlot, and it's $2.49, which I'm assuming was the price back in the early 80s, which seems reasonable, given that something of this stature nowadays would probably be, I don't know, $15 and up, I'm guessing. But anyway, there were a couple of different packages for this. One of them had the card that extended up with the cartoon of Spider-Man on it. This is the basic box, which I do recall having this one. And the packaging they used was pretty cool in that I guess it was like a standard sort of outer shell, and the inner flap had the item number and its name. So I guess they could just sort of mass produce these cartons. I did notice when I was looking at that, this one does say 1984. And it is actually the British one. Corgi Toys Limited, Swansea, Great Britain, copyright 1984. Which would have put me at 10 years old. Yeah, I guess that's about right. Also, the other thing to remember is, in the early 80s, there weren't many superheroes. What I'm trying to say is, 2019, there are so many superhero movies, so many superhero characters. It's just overwhelming. But back when I was young, we had Spider-Man, Batman, Superman, and to a lesser extent, the Hulk. So because there was less choice, you tended to focus on one superhero, and I absolutely loved Spider-Man. I also loved Batman. Superman and the Hulk, not so much, but this was something that I loved. So I'm going to go ahead, get this opened, and we'll talk about it. So I'm just taking a moment here just to sort of reminisce. I think it would have been a Christmas that I got this, because I do recall getting this along with the Spider Buggy and the aforementioned plastic bag web. And the other thing to note was those two vehicles were not in scale with each other. The Spider-Man that came with the buggy was like, probably an inch and a half in height, whereas this is sort of a 3-inch figure. But anyway, I'm keen to get this opened, so I'm going to be somewhat careful because it is a nice box. It's in good condition aside from that annoying price tag, but can't complain. And let's see. Oh, okay, I'm hoping, yep, Another feature of this was that it actually fired missiles, and you know, looking at these in terms of 2019 health and safety aspects, these things were extremely dangerous, but we'll get to that in a moment. So there's the missiles I was talking about. But first of all, there's Spider-Man. But I remember this type of packaging from back then. This would not have been cheap to produce, but they had these like plastic screw type things. So I guess the stand of the motorcycle is on these, and you have to turn it a certain way to release. Yep, there we go. And the bike is free. So this was a cool bike. Now remember, as a child we loved things that were fast and looked cool, and this looked like a fast bike. At these nice mag wheels. I think there was also another edition of this made that had white wheels that looked ridiculous, but this is the black wheeled version. And if I remember rightly, and it does come with its own little kickstand, which is cool, so you can have it, you know, on display if you so wish. But I remember that the Spider-Man did not stay on this bike because the hands were not sculpted in such a way that he could really grasp hold of the handlebars, and that is still in fact the case. So he kind of sort of lays on there and falls off a lot. But yeah, it just looked cool. Now, in terms of watching Spider-Man as a child, I remember there was a cartoon, but there was also a live action TV show that was, I think it was quite short-lived. But that was something I loved watching, and like I said, motorbikes, fast cars, that was stuff we all loved. So yeah, this brings back a lot of good memories, and I can see here what the seller meant. There's a bit of old elastic band residue still stuck there, and it's absolutely rock hard. So just get rid of that. The figure itself it's nothing to write home about. I guess it serves its purpose. It sits on the bike, which is pretty cool. But onto the main feature, which is these extremely dangerous missiles. So it's amazing that they've lasted all this time. So I see one that's coming, they're all coming loose. I'll take two off just for the sake of this example. But in terms of choking hazards, it doesn't get any more dangerous than this. This is what, 3/4 of an inch in length, extremely narrow diameter, which is just perfect for going down a kid's throat. And from what I remember, these things did come out at a reasonably fast pace. So let me just test it first. Yep, that works. Really simple mechanism. It's like a spring mechanism. So these missiles go into the front here, and they, let's see, it worked the first time. Try this side. Okay, that's clicked in place, and this one is not. Do I have to do something first? Okay, that's clicked in place. So you can see they're both in there, and they're activated by squeezing the, I guess they were supposed to be mirrors. But like I said, wow, yeah. These come out at a pretty fast pace and traveled some distance, and you know, something like this would not be allowed these days. And I just want to see if it has an age warning on this. Okay, not suitable for children under 36 months. So if you're 37-month-old, you're allowed to play with these, which is just ridiculous, really. Do this one more time, because what the hell? Try this side. Okay, that's in place, and wow, okay, clearly very dangerous for children, especially a 37-year-old. 37-year-olds, no, 37-month-year-olds. children that are 37 months were allowed to play with these. Okay, whew, get that over with. So anyway, once again, the Spiderbike by Corgi. This was a classic. And it still is a classic. It looks great. And like I said, Spider-Man doesn't really sit on too well. But as a display piece, it's absolutely wonderful. And the fact that it came with all these missiles completely unused was an added bonus. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed that, because I certainly did. This was something I loved owning as a child, and was so happy that Christmas morning to not only get this, but also get the buggy. So anyway, please do like, please subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you next video.